Can blackjack be beaten? What are the best and the smartest ways to play? That and more in this comprehensive guide to winning blackjack in Las Vegas. Hello friends and welcome. This video is significantly longer than our typical video as it provides a comprehensive guide to winning blackjack in Las Vegas. The following video is divided into 5 segments that follow this introduction, all of which are timestamped below so that you can come back to this video as a refresher as you learn these tips to help you with your blackjack strategy while visiting Vegas, or you can skip ahead if you're already aware of where to play. If you prefer to see these all broken up into separate, shorter videos, let us know, and we'll put that together for you. The first segment is an overview of blackjack downtown and the Strip. The second focuses on choosing the right table rules. The third introduces basic strategy. The fourth discusses card counting and betting strategy. And the fifth provides an opportunity to practice your card counting as well as applying a betting strategy. As part of the overview, the question arises, do casinos lose money on blackjack? Well, they can at times. But when you look at things like the table win and loss, that's not the extent of the equation. A casino could win on the table, and they have taxes to be paid. They have to pay for the dealer, the floor space expense, their share of expense of the pit staff, security, surveillance, comps to the players, beverages to the players, share of the wait staff, etc. Which means even if on the occasion a casino uses blackjack as a loss leader to drive traffic, it doesn't mean that the average blackjack player is taking away more money from the table than they brought with them to begin with. Newsflash, this just in, billion-dollar casinos aren't built to take losses to players. However, there are a few ways in which you can improve your odds while still having a great time. This video runs through a few of those methods, from basic strategy to keeping a card count and betting strategy. I mentioned card counting, and because of the way it's been mythologized in films, many ask, is card counting legal? While others wonder, can a player actually get a mathematical advantage in blackjack in the real world? The answer to both is simply yes. But counting is 100% legal if you're only using your brain. There have been criminals that have tried to use devices to assist, and that's both illegal and will get you arrested quickly. When it comes to gaming crimes, casinos don't play around. Most card counting strategies revolve around varying your bets significantly, and casinos do have the right to back you off from the table for any reason at all. With a back off, they may tell you you're not allowed to play blackjack anymore at their establishment, or at times, you may not be allowed on the gaming floor at all in their establishment. And the prohibition could range from a day to a lifetime ban. Professional gamblers will take this risk as they move from casino to casino around the country, but for me, the risk isn't worth it. I'd hate to have a 10-day trip scheduled with a group of friends and day one I get banned from the casino and now the whole experience is compromised for everyone. So in this video, we're going to focus on ways to improve your odds while minimizing the risk that you're banned from the gaming floor. For a professional level gambler, betting a range can range from your base bet to 12 to 18 times your base bet. And it requires hundreds of hours for the averages to pan out, as you can easily experience a 10-hour day that's all down or a 10-hour day that's all up, and you simply never know what's next in the cycle. As the payout averages mean that you'll need to wager big to earn any significant payouts. For example, using a $10 base bet that increases up to $160 per hand at high true counts, after wagering an average of $1,500 an hour, you could expect to earn just over $13 an hour for your risk. Most aren't going to want to spend hundreds of hours at the table during a single Vegas trip, and most who would play at a $10 table aren't going to have the bankroll to sustain a multi-hour streak of losing while wagering $1,500 an hour, all in the hopes of making $13 an hour. So what we're going to focus on instead is how to play to enjoy and maybe make a little money along the way. But don't expect Hollywood films to be made about you. Segment 1. Let's first provide an overview of the places to play blackjack in Vegas. Hotels along the Strip have continually found ways to increase the house edge, and the growth of things like stadium blackjack and electronic blackjack in recent months shows that this trend isn't going away anytime soon. That being said, you can still find some favorable table rules scattered along the Strip. What follows is a brief overview of where to find those advantageous tables with minimums of $25 or less along the Strip. 2 quick caveats. 1, at many casinos, you're able to find similar odds on higher minimum tables. So here we just focus on the more rare $25 and under tables. 2, at peak times, table minimums will increase. So these aren't offered 100% of the time. First on the list is at the far north end of the Strip at the Strat. Here, you can find up to 6 tables at a time that are dealing single deck blackjack where the dealer hits on soft 17 and the minimum bet's only $10. This table offers a 0.13% house advantage when following basic strategy, which we'll discuss in the next segment. Next is Treasure Island that offers up to 3 tables with a $25 minimum double deck blackjack, stands on soft 17 and a 0.26% house advantage. Amongst the Caesars family of properties, you'll find 6-deck games and on 5 tables at Caesars Palace with a $25 minimum and a 0.55% house advantage, a $10 and a $15 table at Paris with a 0.55% house advantage, and up to 8 $15 tables at Harrah's with a 0.64% house advantage. Amongst the MGM family, MGM Grand typically has 3 $25 tables on double-deck blackjack with a 0.46% advantage. Aria can have as many as 20 $25 tables of 6-deck blackjack with a 0.48% advantage. And Park MGM offers up to 4 $25 tables of 8-deck blackjack with a 0.5% house advantage. Strip adjacent is the honorable mention of Ellis Island. They're located a block behind Bally's, and though not on the Strip, they are very close to Center Strip locations. They make the list because they offer the only $5 option in the immediate area, with up to 6 tables dealing 6-deck blackjack with a 0.55% house advantage. If you're planning to play for an extended time, downtown Vegas offers the better options. El Cortez tops the list with numerous tables dealing single and double-deck blackjack with $5 minimums and a house advantage from 0.3 to 0.46%. Golden Gate offers $15 minimums on double-deck blackjack and 2 tables with a house advantage of 0.46%. And the Downtown Grand, Golden Nugget, the D, Four Queens, Binions, and Main Street Station all generally have tables with lower minimums and better odds than the Strip casinos. Circa, being the new crown jewel of downtown, initially had higher minimums, but now you can find minimums starting as low as $15 during slower times and good odds as well. In most of the properties downtown, you'll be able to find a seat at a table with favorable rules. Similarly, plenty of local casinos have better odds as well, but since these videos are geared towards the casual tourist, we'll keep our coverage to downtown and the Strip. Segment 2. Regardless of where you're playing, choosing the right table rules, that's the key. All blackjack tables are not created equal. While there's plenty of variants of side games like Blazing 7, Plus 3, and others, we aren't going to focus on those here because, well, those all have worse odds than blackjack, so we recommend not playing the side games, and thus it doesn't matter which are available. But beyond those, you commonly have from double deck to 8-deck shoes, or in some cases continuous shuffle, which from a mathematical standpoint creates an essentially endless shoe, or an infinite shoe as it's called in some places. You also have differences in the odds, primarily shaped by whether blackjack pays 3 to 2 or 6 to 5. and variance on whether the dealer stands or hits on soft 17. Other rules that can impact your odds, including the ability to surrender and whether you're able to double down after splitting a pair. The uninformed player may not recognize the differences, but it's not uncommon to see a variety of these all within the same casino, and they make a significant difference in your odds of winning. For example, if we apply just the basic strategy to the game, which is discussed in the next segment, then if you're playing on a table where the dealer stands on soft 17, double down is allowed on any two cards, but double down is not allowed after a split, and blackjack pays 3 to 2, then if you're playing on a double deck table, the house advantage is 0.35%. 4 decks raises the house edge to 0.52%. 6 decks raises it to 0.58%, and 8 decks raises it to 0.61%. Let's talk about what the variations ultimately mean then from this default sort of standpoint. If the dealer is able to hit on soft 17, then that adds 0.22% to the house edge. If blackjack's paid at 6 to 5, the house gains 1.37%. Never play at a 6 to 5 blackjack table. If you can double after split, then that decreases the house odds by 0.12%. Late surrender decreases the house odds by 0.07%. A little bit, but that still tilts things more into your favor. So first, let's talk about what each of these variations mean. The shoe size, whether from single deck to 8 deck, is rather obvious. As a general rule, the smaller shoe sizes are available on higher minimum bet tables, with the exceptions of some of the downtown and locals casinos that use this to help draw in players. Within your limits, obviously, the fewer the decks, the more advantageous this is for you. The biggest factor is what blackjack pays. Whether it's 3 to 2 or 6 to 5 will typically be printed on the felt of the table, but if the casinos varies these payouts based on demand, then it could be included instead on the rule sign that is typically to the dealer's right. It may seem trivial, but this is the most impactful rule impacting the house edge. A 6 to 5 raises the house edge by 1.37% over a 3 to 2 payout. So what does that mean? On average, over 73 hands, you'll lose whatever your average bet is just due to this rule. Everything else taken out of the equation. And so you're giving away a considerable amount, especially considering you'll play more than 73 hands in an hour during a typical period of time. And this can quickly have a negative impact on your overall performance. Soft 17 is an ace-6. On a stand soft 17 table, the dealer draws to 17 15.25% of the time, to 18 to 21 55.16% of the time, and busts 29.6% of the time. With hit soft 17, the dealer finishes with 17 14.02% of the time, 18 to 21 55.98% of the time, and busts 30% of the time. In other words, while there is a minimal 0.4% increase in the amount of time the dealer busts, there is a significantly higher chance that the dealer finishes with 18 to 21. Say you've drawn to a 19, a hand you most definitely are not going to hit. If playing a stand soft 17 table, you'll push the hand 14.04% of the time, the dealer will win the hand 26.5% of the time, and you'll win 59.46% of the time. But if you have that same 19 on a hit soft 17 table, you'll push 14.24% of the time. The dealer will win the hand 26.92% of the time, and you'll win 58.84% of the time. That's why overall, hitting soft 17 raises the house edge by 0.22%. Doubling after split is worth an additional 0.12% for the player. Say you have a pair of 8s and the dealer showing a 6. Basic strategy says split the 8s. Now you draw a 3 on the first hand. That gives you an 11 on a hand against a bust card for the dealer. Doubling down is definitely the way to go if it's available to you. What is surrender? Surrender in blackjack allows the players to give up their hand and receive half of their original bet back. There are 2 variations of surrender. Early surrender, which allows you to surrender before the dealer checks for blackjack, and this option is rarely found anymore. But late surrender, which is available on some tables in Vegas. With late surrender, the dealer checks for blackjack first, and if they don't have it, then the player can surrender their initial 2-card hand, receiving half of their bet back. This option should be used only in the scenario where you have a less than 1 in 4 shot of winning the hand, and doing so adds 0.07% to the player's odds. In the next segment, we'll talk much more about what each of these mean and how to play the hands, but ultimately, you can see that at a minimum, you're looking for a 3-2 table, ideally with stand on soft 17 rules and the fewest decks available for the level of bet that you are comfortable making. On to segment number 3, basic strategy. In the description below, I'll include a link where you can download your own copy of this basic strategy card. At most casinos, you can use the card while you're at the table, but it will need to be printed out as you cannot use your phone while playing. Of course, just be sure to ask when you sit down at the table if you're allowed to use the card or not. Basic strategy is simply based on risk-reward math. For starters, looking at the probability of busting if you draw a card. For example, if you hit a 17, you'll bust 69% of the time, whereas sometimes it can be scary hitting a 13 when the big cards seem to be coming every time you hit. But overall, you'll only bust 39% of the time, meaning that hitting improves your hand more than 6 out of 10 times. These probabilities are matched against the dealer's probable hand. Considering a stand on all 17s table, the dealer only busts 28.37% of the time, then one can assume that you'll need to get to 17 or greater to be in the majority of games. However, you do have a little knowledge that helps to adjust these odds. You get the chance to see the dealer's up card before making your decision. Here, the sweet spot are the 4s, 5s, and 6s, where since the dealer must hit until they're at or above 17 means that more than 40% of the time the dealer will bust, and so as a player, you'll hold sub 17 hands so as not to risk taking yourself out of the hand by busting against these 4s, 5s, and 6s, and you'll enjoy a total of 21.7% advantage, even with just the basic strategy. See the cards via the included links below for a quick and easy math-based chart for what to do in every situation that you'll encounter when applying basic strategy. Segment 4, we now will discuss card counting and betting strategy. The gambler's fallacy is the assumption that a previous streak impacts the next game, whereas each game is truly independent. For example, that 3 losses on a slot machine mean that the machine is due to win. The roulette wheel landing on black 3 times in a row means that red's up next, or that a few bad rolls and craps means that the next one will be great. Each of these are independent games where the next turn has no relationship to the previous. However, because we know the initial makeup of the cards, and each one as it's dealt out does change the odds for what will be next. And thus, blackjack is the one game in the casino where past hands do provide insight into what comes next. While there are a number of card counting strategies out there, the one that we're going to cover here is the simplest. And the more complex ones only have the potential to marginally increase the player advantage, but because of their complexity, they're also significantly increase the chances that the player's count becomes inaccurate at some point during the shoe, and that not only negates the potential gains in advantage, but can also make these strategies perform less optimally than the strategy that we're going to discuss here. The card counting method is simple. There are 13 cards per suit per deck. 7s, 8s, and 9s are neutral cards, so we're not concerned with them. Instead, we're only concerned with the 5 above and the 5 below. 10 through ace are the big cards. Fewer of these in the deck mean less of a chance that you're getting a natural blackjack, and so each time one of these is shown, the count decreases by 1. 2 through 6 are the small cards. Fewer of these in the deck increases the proportion of big cards, which increases the chances of blackjack for us and the chances that the dealer busts on those forced hits. So each time one of these is shown, you're adding 1 to your count. Keeping the total throughout the shoe is known as the running count. And dividing the running count by the number of decks remaining to be dealt gives you the true count. True count is the key data point here. A running count of +5 when there are 5 decks left is far less significant than a running count of +5 when there are 2 decks left in the shoe. This is a true count of 1 versus a true count of 2.5. A true count of 1 moves the odds 0.49% more into the player favor, whereas a 2.5 moves the odds 1.23% into the player's favor, which should be enough to mean that you now have a greater advantage over the house than they did when the shoe began, assuming you choose the right table rules that we discussed in the previous segment. This is where bet variance comes into play. While professional gamblers will significantly increase their bets as much as 18 times their base bet on a true count of 5, if you're sitting at a $25 table and betting $25 for dozens of hands in a row, that periodically spiking up to $100, $200, then $450, then back to $25 and spiking again a few dozen hands later, that's the type of thing that's going to draw attention that could get you backed off. You do want to take advantage of these true counts though. So I'll typically double my bet when the count is favorable, and that's never gotten me backed off of a table. Similarly, there's a way to bet 4 times your bet while bringing no attention at all. I try to play at tables that are not full, as this means that you get more hands per hour that are dealt to you. If there's an empty seat next to you, you can always play a second hand. And standard procedure means that you have to bet twice the table minimum on each hand when playing 2 hands. So that means that the minimum bet is now double the table minimum on both. Thus, if playing on a $25 table, that means you have to bet a minimum of $50 on both hands to play 2. So you've increased your bet over that minimum 4 times, drawing no suspicion at all because it's still the minimum that you're betting in this circumstance. The other way to utilize the count is to adjust a sliding scale on those marginal hit stand decisions. Hitting a 16 in a neutral deck, there's a 62% chance of busting, but on a positive deck, the chance of busting increases, and on a negative deck, those bust chances decrease. So you're staring at a 12 versus the dealer's 6, and there's a true count of -3, you're going to hit. Same 12 versus a dealer showing a 6 and a +2 true count, then you're going to stand. And so on these marginal sorts of decisions, you help to adjust that basic strategy just a tad. Segment number 5. For the remainder of this video, we've provided a simulation to help you practice your card counting strategy. In the segment, we'll deal from a 6-deck shoe. The visual focus will remain down on the cards. So we're counting on you to be able to maintain that sort of a visual focus while playing. Vegas tables have plenty of distractions, but you have to make sure that you see every card dealt or the strategy falls apart. We'll add a bit of background noise and music though to better replicate the energy of the casino floor. For the first shoe, we'll add the running count periodically through the deal as an incremental status check to verify that what you have in your head is the actual running count. The remaining shoes will wait until it reaches the reshuffle point and then put the running count on the screen to ensure that you've had an accurate count. And so this segment is just intended to be practice so that you can come back to it to sharpen your mind and to refresh these skills before you go wager your money on the tables. All right, folks, welcome to the table. We'll keep our visual focus down here on the cards. Let's go ahead and begin with these counting basics. Just going to deal 4 hands here so that it's easy to have it zoomed in and keep an eye on all the cards as they are being dealt. Dealer has a 10 up, so they're going to peek to see if they've been dealt a natural blackjack. They are not. 16 decides to hit. 26, too many. We're going to leave the cards on the table for just a second so that we get a full count and see the way in which that works. And then we'll pick it up and do with the normal dealer sort of action in a moment. 8s are deciding they're going to split. 18 stays, 8. 18 stays, 13 hits. It's a 15. They hit. 20 stays, 9 hits, 18 and stays. Dealer flips. They have 17. As we go around the table then and look at the cards, we get a quick count on them. -1, even. -1, -2, -3, -2, -1, even, +1, +2, +1. So going into the next hand, our running count is +1. Now we'll go ahead and keep the regular sort of dealer action as we move forward. We'll keep track of the cards. Go ahead and keep an eye on that running count as we move forward. And we'll add at this point in time the distractions of the background music as well as a little bit of background casino noise. Dealer with another 10 up. It's going to peak. And they don't have it. 14. It's going to hit. 22. Too many. 9 hits. 20 stays. 15 hits. 21. Good hit. 9 hits. 13 hits. 14 hits. 18 to stand. Dealer has a 10 and 19. One of the things that we will be doing here on the table as we deal these hands is to better simulate the casino environment. We're going to have some players that don't necessarily might make the right choice. As you look to that strategy card and as you're keeping up with the count, maybe they're hitting when they shouldn't, they're splitting when they shouldn't, or doubling when they shouldn't. 10 is face up, dealer peaks, they don't have it. 13 hits, 16 hits, 26, too many. 10 hits, 12 hits, 22, too many. 6 decides to hit. They got 11. They're looking for a big card. Got a 20. 20 stands as well. Dealer rolls a 20. All that work for these to push and the others to lose out. Finally, the dealer doesn't have a 10 up. 8 up, 14 hits, 21, good hit, 9 hits, 17, they stay, 7 hits, 11, looking for a big card, 13, 23, too many, and 17 stays. Dealer has 11, 18. Nine up. Dealer's playing tough today. 13, 19 stands, 17 stands, 10 hits, 16 hits, 18 stands, 14 hits, 18 stands, 16. Finally, a favorable look for us that are playing at the table. 23. Too many, everybody gets paid off. This is the point where you're going to have a lot of conversation at the table about the hand finally turning in your direction. That can be a distraction as you're trying to keep up with the count, and also things like good luck on that ace. But you want to make sure, and they painted it, that you are still keeping your accurate count in light of those. 21 ace off, 12 hits, 20 stands, 13 hits, 14 hits, 22, too many, 20 stands, 10, 16, 26. Tables finally turning in favor of the player. That's the sort of discussion that you'd have, but you, keeping up with the count, know is the table truly turning in favor of the player, or is that an isolated hand? Up. Dealer peaks. You don't have the blackjack, so 15 hits. 25, too many. 18 stands. 16 should hit, but this player's playing on a hunch at this point in time. I don't know, I've been busting too much, so they decide to stand. 18 stands. Dealer rolls 20. 16 could have hit, put themselves in the game. We won't know if it would have or not till we see that next card that comes up. But in this case, everybody loses. Oh, 16 would have had the blackjack, or had a 21. And of course, it doesn't always pan out that way, but it's about the math, and in the long run, it would have been beneficial. Another 10 up for the dealer. If you don't have the blackjack, 15 hits. 25, too many. 6 for 16. At this point, you'll have the dealer commonly just reference it as a 6 because you should hit that. Now it's a hard 16. You're going to do the proper thing to hit, and in this case, it didn't pan out. 26, too many. 20 stands, 12 hits, 14, 20, too many. One player left alive. Dealer is 15. 19. One player getting paid off. And keep in mind that we're going through a 6-deck shoe here, folks. So we are about halfway in at this point in time. And so if you were doing your true count, you'd take the running count, divide that by 3, and that would give you the true count at the table. The dealer has a 5 up. It's a good card for us finally at this point. Over here, pair of 5s. Sometimes there's that instinct to want to split, but pair of 5s, you're simply going to double down, which gives us the 19. 4, 18, and they stand. 7, 11, looking for a big card. 16 stands, 20 stands. Never split the 10s, even when you got a bust card that's up. It's a winning hand the vast majority of the time. Take yes for an answer. Keep the winning hand on the table. Dealer. Rolls a 3. Gives us 10, 13, looking for a big one. 19. Good thing they didn't split there. They're losing hands, and instead they're going to get paid off. So we push over here. This one becomes a loss. This one becomes a loss. And a pair of 10s gets paid off. Ten up for the dealer. Repeat, they don't have the blackjack. 17 stands. 17 stands. 16 is going to do the proper thing and hit. This time it didn't pay off for him. 2 minutes. 20 is going to stand. 20. Loser, loser, and a push. Eight up, 13 hits, 14 hits, 20 stands, 4, 14, 24, 2 minutes, 20, 9, 19, 18. Winner, winner, winner. Nope. Missed up the deal there. Should have given that card out a little earlier. But since we're not playing for real money at this point in time, we'll bring the second card out and go ahead and continue for our counting exercise. It's 2 up, so there's nothing to check. Our pair of 4s decides they want to split. 12, they stand 4. We're at one of those tables that's going to allow a double down after split, so they decide they're going to double. 13 decides to stand. 8 decides to hit. Stand. 17 decides to stand as well. 12, so we're looking for a big card. 18, unfortunate. Push. Peaks. They rolled blackjack. House is going to win. You can see here as well, folks, the reason why you want to go ahead and keep that count as each card is dealt. And that's because sometimes that hand ends very abruptly. You want to make sure that you hadn't missed anything, because otherwise you got to stick around and wait for the next shoe in order to get an effective count going again. 3 up, so 14 decides to stand. 14 stands. Pair of 8s decides they're going to split. 19 stands. 18 stands. 14 stands. Looking for a big one. Got 5. We need a little one. 15, big card. 22, that's enough. Pays off, everybody at the table's going to win. Good luck on that ace. Did it again. You can tell I'm not a blackjack dealer, folks. I'm a player, not a dealer. But again, doing it for the count, so we'll bring the second card out here. Peaks, they don't have the 21, so we'll continue on. 3 or 13. 6 or 16. 16. 21. A lot of work to get there, but they're in a good spot. 16 hits. 18 stands. 12. 21, good hit. 13, 23, 2 minutes. Dealer rolls a 20, so we got a winner, and a loss. Good luck on the ace. Nine. 18 decides to stand. 3. 12. 21. Hit. 8. 12. 17. 14. 19. 15. We're looking for a big card. And we got it. Everybody's paid off. One of the things you can see with this as well is in this case we're dealing 4 hands. It's going to make this 6-stack shoe last considerably longer than if we were playing 6 hands at the table. Some tables have as much as an 8-stack shoe. Those odds drop against you the more cards that you have, the more decks that you have on the shoe. But the deeper that we can get into it from a count perspective, it allows for some higher counts to accrue for the player, and so that can be beneficial for you. Fewer hands that you have being dealt as a time means more hands that you're going to get in as a player, and the quicker that those hands are going to occur, which also then can help you on those winning streaks along the way. That gets into your favor. You've got more hands that are available to you, and you're getting more hands per hour, so that even if you're only winning a limited amount per hand, that can add up much quicker to gains for you. So back to the hands here. 5 up, so Blackjack's going to pay off. It's a bust card showing that looks good for all of us. 19 stands, 15 stands, 4s are going to split. 14 stands, 6, 7 or 17, they're going to hit. So that's 12, and that's hard 12 now, so they're going to stand. Dealer. There we go, looking for a big card, and you got it. 4 remaining are paying out as well. Getting close to the shuffle card here, folks. You might have 1, maybe 2 hands left in the shoe. 10, dealer peaks, they don't have it. 17 stands, 15 does the proper thing, hits, but this time it didn't pay off for him. It's 25. 16 does the proper thing, hits. Again, doesn't always pay off for you though. It's 26. 8 or 18 is going to stand. 20. So while those split 2 players did bust out, they would have lost the hand anyways. They gave themselves a chance by hitting, even though that chance didn't pay off for them. Both of these, unfortunately, end up losing. Didn't make it to the cut card yet, so we got 1 more hand left. There it is. There's the cut card. I knew I could see it coming up. So this is the final hand of this shoe. And of course, one final mistake here of skipping the dealer on a card. Hope I don't get shot at my own blackjack table here today. All right, 8 up, so the blackjack pays off on the final hand of the shoe. 6 is going to hit. 12, 19 stands, 16 hits, 17 to stand, 20 stands, 11, looking for a small one. 14, now we'll take the big one. 16, 25, 2 minutes. All right, so folks, as we get ready to shuffle up and then deal from a new shoe here now. This one, we kept the running count available for you on screen as things progressed, just so that you could kind of get warmed up and get that process verified for you throughout. As we move forward, these next couple of shoes, we're going to deal through the entire shoe without updating you on the running count as we progress through, so that you can check it at the end. When we finish the shoe, we'll put the running count up for you on the screen, and you can check and see, does the running count that you show for that shoe match what's on screen? If so, you know you did it right. You were keeping up with the correct numbers as we move through. So We will shuffle up and let's deal again. All right, folks. New shoe, we're ready to move forward. We are going to turn up a little bit of that distracting noise though as we move forward here, because again, casinos aren't quiet environments. We'll make it through the entire shoe and keep up with that running count. We'll verify it on the end of the screen at the end of this shoe. Blackjack pays off. 2 minutes. Stands 20, 10, doubles down, for some reason, got it 16, 11, doubles down, oh, small card down, 18. Decides to stand, 13 stands, 17 stands, 13 stands, 14 looking for a big card, 15 looking for a big card, 19. As we go through some of these choices, haven't already memorized basic strategy, ask yourself, are the players at this table making the right decision on when they decided to stand on some of those less than 17 hands? 14 is up. And 8, 17 stands, 13 stands, 13 soft. So that's 6 or 16. 15 stands and the 12 hits. 2 minutes. Again, 17. We want this to mimic a real world environment where, unfortunately, you're going to have some players that aren't playing the best strategy. In those cases, it can benefit you as a player because it could mean that they're standing at times when they shouldn't, so there's more cards that remain in the deck. Other times it can hurt you because they're eating up cards from the shoe that could be in your favor. 12 hit, 22, 2, 13 stands, 13 stands, 19 stands, 8, 18. Doesn't have a blackjack. 8 hits. 16 hits. 22, 2 hits. 17 stands. 10 hits. 21 good hit. 19 stands. Dealer has 20. So it's paid, lost. Forgot that dealer card again. everybody's got their ace up, so they'll offer insurance open. Nobody has a hand on the table. Insurance closed. Peek, and they don't have it. 16 hits, 17 stands. 7 or 17 hits. 8 or 18 decides to stand. 16 with the pair decides they're just going to hit. 2 minutes. 11 against the ace decides they're just going to hit. They get the 21. Dealer rolls 18. So, loss, and dealer. Down to heads up Blackjack. Instead 17. Dealer rolls 60 for a big card. 20. House did okay on that end. Dealer has a 10, so they get a check for the blackjack before paying off over here. They don't have the 21, so the blackjack pays off at 3-2 because we're never playing at a 65 table. Come around to the 19 stands, 18 stands, 12 hits, 17 stands, 15, looking for a big card, 17, but it's enough that this hand's going to pay. This hand's going to pay. This hand is going to push. So, nobody loses. 3 out of 4 players won. Good luck on that ace. Five, 4, 15. 5 hits. Hard 15 hits. 25, 2 minutes. 16 hits. 22, 2 minutes. 13 most definitely should hit, but again, this is a person that's getting a little timid, so they decide to stand. 15 is going to play it the proper way and hit that one. But this time the math did pay out for them. They dropped. 25, 2 minutes. Here's a 10, 20. House wins all the way around on that hand. Good looking out card for the table. 20 stands, 17 stands, 15 stands, 12 stands as well. Looking for a big one in the hole. Unfortunately, we got another 4, so now we're looking for a small one. 16 looks good for us. We need a big one. 26, that works. gauge on it so that you can think about where you're at as far as the troop count goes. 4 up for the house. So 12 stands, 18 stands, 16 stands, 14 stands. Looking for a big card in the hole. 5 or 15, 6 or 16, 15. Looking for a big one. Big enough, 22. House busts, and everybody wins. Bust card up 20 stands. 9 is ready to double down. 13, 17 stands. 11 is ready to double down. That's a way to double down. 6, looking for a big one in the hole. Hole wouldn't got it. 22, too many, everybody's winning. He's got a 10 up, got a peak, no blackjack, 13 hits, 16 hits, 20 stands, 15 hits, 25, too many. 19 stands, soft 17 hits, 15 hits, 25, too many. 20. Push over here. And we lost this one. Ace up. So the dealer offers insurance, offers even money to this player. Nobody takes it. Insurance closed. Dealer's going to peek. And unfortunately, they get it. So push. Other players lose. That's a much better one for us at the table. 13 stands, 15 stands, 12 stands, 11 decides to double down. 19. 12 for a big card. He did not get it. That's a 19. So that's a loss. That's a loss. That's a loss. And this player pushes. So at least the big bet on the table was not lost. stands, 12 hits. 19 stands, 14. 20, 2 more. 17. 'It's all there. Not a 10 or ace. It is a 10. We're going to check to see. Not an ace in the hole. Not an ace in the hole. Dealer doesn't have it. So blackjack pays off. Blackjack pays off. Stand and stand. 16. 19. Everybody's winning. Unfortunately, they got 2. 11 hits. 21 12 hits. 19 stands. 16. Looking for it. Got it. 3 out of 4 win. Not a bad way to finish this shoot. And folks, we're going to shuffle up the deal. First, let's check your running count against the actual running count for this deck. Hopefully you had the accurate number there. Now let's go ahead, shuffle up the deal, and let's run through another shoe in the same fashion. Alright folks, we're back. We're going to run through one more shoe here just for that opportunity to practice the count. But before we do, a quick tip on a way that you can kind of practice this on your flight to Vegas if you're flying. If you are driving into Vegas, don't do it if you're behind the wheel, but if you're the passenger in the vehicle, you can do this as well. And that's simply take a deck of cards with you on the plane. And with that deck of cards, flip through them as quick as you can, keeping that count as you move, and then stop when you get to the very end. Of course, it should be a neutral count. It should be perfectly zero. If not, we'll miss somewhere along the way. But just simply flipping through can help to sharpen that mind. Because again, though this is a simplistic sort of process, you'd be surprised how often you can get midway into a shoe, and if you've been distracted to the waitress asking if you'd like anything to drink, to the person next to you talking to you, to the pit boss coming in and asking you, hey, where are you from, how long are you in town, whatever the questions might be, and you lose that count, and then you're playing blind, just hoping to play with the basic strategy the rest of the way. And so it helps to go ahead and get that refresher. That's why we put these in the videos, so that you can come back the week before your trip, come back to here, practice seeing these dealt in a fairly accurate sort of pacing, as well as take advantage of this tip on your trip. So let's go ahead and begin this final shoot. 4 hands dealt again. $10 up, so the dealer's got a peek. They do not have the blackjack. Blackjack pays off. 17 stands. 15 hits. 19 stands. 8 hits. 13 hits. 15 hits. 20 stands. Dealer rolls a 20. Stands. closed. Let's flip that over. Dealer does not have it. 15 hits. 25, 2 minute. 6 or 16. 21 stands. 14. 21 stands. 12. 19 stands. Dealer rolls. 6 or 16. 15. 19. 21's paid off. 21's paid off. 19 push. Plus card showing for the dealer. Our soft 14 is going to double down. Hit hard 14. 12 is going to stand. Our 20 is going to stand. Our 20 is going to stand. Oh, that's not what you want to see. And sure enough, 21 for the dealer. Good hand for the house, but mathematically that hand's going to pay off for us much more often than we want to lose on. Dealer has a 10 up. We'll peek to see if they got the blackjack. They do not. 18 stands. 15 is going to hit. 21 is going to hit. 12 is going to hit. 16. 26. 2 minutes. 16 hit. 20 stands. 15, 16, 25, too many. 3 remaining players get paid off. I don't want to jinx it. Remember to actually deal myself as a dealer here. So far, we're about a deck and a half into this. They don't have the 21. We're around 17, 18, 16. Dealer rolls 20. Loss, push, and a loss. Another 10 up for the dealer. Wish I could roll these that often when I am the one on the player side of the equation. They peak, no blackjack. 18 stands, 12 hits, 15 hits, 25, 2 men. 18 stands, 5, 10, looking for a big card. Got it, so 20, it's a stand. 19 for the dealer, so that's a loss. Loss. Third base over here gets paid off. Ten up for the dealer. And they roll blackjack. As we're doing this, folks, if you hadn't been doing so already, go ahead and pick you a position on the table. Think of it as if you were playing that hand so that you're asking yourself the question, do I hit, do I stand, what am I going to bet next, if I'm accelerating my bet or not, because those are all things that are going through your head as you're keeping this count. And so again, to maximize your practice, that's something you want to make sure that you're doing in this circumstance. From a true count sort of perspective, it looks like we're about 2.5 decks into the shoe, which means we've got about 3.5 decks remaining. So you would divide the running count by 3.5 to get your true count to determine what you should be doing with your bet at this point. Good luck on that ace. Dealer rolls a 9, 20 stands. Soft 17 is going to hit. 19 stands. 12 hits. 13 hits. 20 stands. And 19 stands. Just enough to keep us alive. So we push. We got a winner. We got a push. And 2 winners on the table. 2 pushes, 2 winners. On the player side of things, we'll take that. Nothing lost, only gains. Wouldn't you know it? Insurance, offer even money. Nobody takes it. Insurance closed. Dealer peaks. And they got it. So we got 3 losses and a push.
One time where I'm like, that's the ball.
Good luck with that That's a good one. 20 stands. 7. Wishes they had a 7 that was up there. We're just going to hit instead of double. Get a 17 on stand. 9 decides. Think about it. They're going to go ahead and double down. Good time to double down. And the 8 stands. 6. 13 for a big card. And we got everybody at the table gets paid. So we're all betting evenly. The wager 4 times whatever the minimum is. We're getting 5. Plus the 5th one here, we get 5 times the pay back. Good time because of the double down, of course. Just a little less than 3 decks remaining in the shoe. So doing the true count, dividing the running count by 3 at this point to give you an accurate true. 4 up for the dealers, and the 11's going to capitalize on this and double down. It's a good double down as well. The 16's going to stand, the other 16's going to stand, and the 17's going to stand. Hoping for a big card to call. Got it, so we need a big card to call. And we got it. Everybody's getting paid at the table, and again, 5 times the minimum bet. If everybody's betting the same minimum bet. Running counts mean a lot more to us because now our true count is a much smaller division number at this point. The 12 that's up, the 12 against it decides to stand. 18 stands, 14 stands, 15 stands. Everybody's playing for the house to best. Let's see what we got. We got a 12, so a big card or a really small one here would be good. 13, 23, too many. Players are on a good streak at this point. Of course, whether you won the last hand or lost the last hand isn't indicative of what's about to come, but what the count of the cards is indicative. So that's what matters to us. Good luck on that ace. Sometimes you'll see the dealer get clever and put my face down there. face down card while before you progress in deciding to stand or hit the dealer will flip it over. More commonplace, you see him do it down and dirty and on a double down situation. 5 up for the dealer. That's good for everybody here. 10 stands, 11. Take advantage to double down. 13 stands, soft 16. This is one of those where kind of iffy depending upon the count. We can't tell you what the count is, so we'll just say this player decides double down. End up with a 13, so we're all hoping for this blessed card to materialize for us. That one in the hole. Decent. Need a big card. 17. Didn't materialize that time for us, but this one's getting paid off. This one's getting paid off for the double down. We'll have a loss here and a loss here.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, I love it. Man.
6 up. In this case, first player is going to double down on that soft 13, and here's where dealer gets clever and deals the card face down. 19 stands, 12 stands, 15 stands, 16. Looks good for us if we got a big one in the hole. 17, face down. 13 loses. 18 wins, 12 loses, 15 wins. When they've got that down and dirty card on a double down situation, what you've got to watch for is if the dealer busts. Because if the dealer busts, that card's irrelevant. And so often it's just quickly flipped and paid off. And to keep that count, you got to make sure when it gets flipped. You've seen Blackjack pays off. It's a 7, 14 hits, 24, 2 minutes. 14, 15, 12, 22, 2 minutes. 17 stands, 15, 24, 2 minutes. We got a winner here. The Blackjack was paid off, and 2 losers. At this point, we are inside of 2 decks remaining. So your true count is that running count divided by 2. Again, dealer would never tell you that, but you'd be able to visually see as you looked over to the shoe. But with this tight video shot, you can't actually see the shoe in this circumstance. Bust card up for the dealer looks good for us. So 20 stands, 12 stands, 14 stands, 12 stands, all playing on the house to bust. We have a big card. We do not. So now we're pulling for that little card to follow. And unfortunately, the house rules a 19. So we have 1 winner on the table, 3 losers. We're approaching that cut card, which was applied just a little over 1 deck into the shoe. Ace for the dealer. Insurance open. Insurance closed. They do not have it. 20 stands, 8 hits. 18 stands, 8. 10. Looking for a big card. 13. Looking for a medium card. 22. Those 2 decks. 11 hits. 15 hits. 18 stands. Dealer has 15, 14, 24, too many. 3 remaining players get paid off. For the true count purposes at this point, there's just a little over 1 deck that is remaining here. You can see the cut cards coming up this hand. And so just looking at your running count gives you a fairly accurate true count at this point. Just estimating the number of cards left in the deck. There's the cut card. So this is the final hand of this shoe. Oh, and of course, I made it almost through the shoe without forgetting to deal the dealer. Deal the dealer now. Couldn't finish this video without making one more mistake. So we'll say that we did that just for consistency. Not that I'm a terrible dealer. 3 up for the dealer, so we know we're going to have action on them bidding. It's the final hand, and we're saying it's getting close to the end. This guy decides I'm going to split that pair of 2s. It's the last hand of the shoe. It's an 11. We're at one of those tables that will allow a double down after split, so they're going to double it. Got a lot of money riding on this hand. 2 hits, it's 12. They decide to stand on the 12. The 14 decides to stand. 17 stands, and the 20 stands. Everybody's going to play for the house to bust. 13. If we got a big card, we're finishing this shoe and this video very happy. 14. Got another opportunity for it. 18. So unfortunately, our double loses. 12 loses. 14 loses. 17 loses. But third base does get paid off. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. If there's anything you'd like to see, add that in the comment section below. And most importantly, I hope that you have a great time visiting Vegas. And we'll see you soon.